It's time we had the talk about the Little Lab's Voice of God.
You're listening to the dangerous mind of Mark Yoshimoto Nemkov. No excuses, no BS, no pants.
The trick is knowing when to stop. Because the Little Lab's Voice of God can be, well, I don't want to call it a crutch. I don't want to call it an addiction. But when you're able to dial in that kind of a more of a chesty low end, artificially enhancing your chesty low end is going to, it's going to be intoxicating at first. But then the issue becomes knowing where to cut it off. All right, so what you're hearing right now is my voice through the Little Lab's Voice of God. And quite honestly, there's just a touch of it on here. I have it centered right here. Frequency response is right in the middle, so it's centered at 40. And the way this works, looking at these two knobs and these three buttons, you'd think that this was all really simple. But whoever designed this UI, it's not very intuitive. And I'll tell you why. First things first, you can tell when something is engaged, when it's turned on, because it has a red indicator light next to it. Not green, red. So red means this is on and these are off. Like if I do this, then I'm basically bypassing the bass enhancement circuitry, which is really just a fancy filter with a very narrow Q band. So if I take that off, and really there is a very, very subtle use of this right here. If I switch it off, and you can definitely hear that I've lost a little bit of that low end that comes back when I switch it on. So here I have my amplitude at 1. So this is telling you right away when you can hear the difference with it off and with it barely on. That means there's a lot going on here. So the amplitude knob will sweep up to 24 dB of extra focused enhancement at whatever frequency range you choose. Now, obviously, this is way too much. Way, way, way too much. So this would just be an effect you might use for something that, I don't know. I would think that you would never use that for voiceover unless it was some kind of exaggerated post-production effect. But right here, this is where I like it. Just a touch, just really a pinch. It's a sprinkle. Because with it off, right, there's definitely a little bit of a missing authoritative component in my voice. If I don't have it on any given day, if I wake up and I don't have that little bit of extra boom boom in my zoom zoom, I can just drop in a little touch of Voice of God. Now this is centered right here at 40 hertz. And the frequency will sweep. Whatever the center frequency is, cut it in half. And that's where basically it'll go in either direction. So we can drop it down to 20. Amplitude at 20, right? And then we can sweep it up to about 60. Right? There's a big difference. 20, 60. All right? So I like to keep it really like here at 40. So 5. So centered the center frequency. So I can go to 100. That's a lot. So hear how squonky that is? It's not terrible. So you just do a little touch of 100. If 100 is really the center frequency I'm looking for. Or if I press both these, it's 200. Right? So where you get a lot of weird resonance up here, where I do on my voice. So yeah. So, and the frequency response for 100. The frequency will sweep from about 50 to 170. So you're getting a little bit more than 100 hertz of frequency sweepability. And then when you go to 200, your frequency sweep will go from 100 to 300 with the center frequency at 200. And I don't know why this is 40/200. I mean, it's really, it's not terribly intuitive, but it's not that difficult. But it's easy to overdo. The first thing you might do is be like, oh, you know what? Look at that, right? So I'm going to Go maximum low mids. Let's go maximum lows. That's not a usable VO sound. All right, so start with 40 and then just dial it back. Just give yourself a sprinkle, a touch, a pinch. That's all you need. That's all you need. Because again, without it and with it. So the Little Labs Voice of God is a really cool and interesting tool that it approximates proximity effect and chestiness kind of at the same time. So it's a little bit of, it feels like you're pulling closer, right? If I do this and then I do this, it's almost like here I'm 6 feet away and here I'm 2 feet away. And it's just by the addition of that proximity effect, or the essence of a proximity effect that enhanced a little bit more bass. And so getting a little bit closer to your listener in VO is always good. You want to feel like you're talking to someone who's either sitting next to you in the car or across from you at a table. So a little bit extra authoritative low end can be very helpful sometimes. But do not get too enamored by the Little Labs Voice of God and pour it on real thick, thinking that you're going to sound like some kind of, you're going to sound like Optimus Prime. Because all it's going to do is blow up your low end and screw up your levels and make your voiceovers harder to mix. So just a little touch. Okay, that's all. I could have probably just said this whole thing in 30 seconds. Little Labs Voice of God. Just set it like on 1 or maybe 2. And that's it. Keep the amplitude low. Choose the frequency that works best for you. And have fun with it. All right. Let me know what you think. I want to know exactly what you would use the Little Labs Voice of God on. All right? Tell me. Leave a comment. All right, until next time. This is Mark Yoshimoto Nemkov, fading to black.